does and shows right around the country. We just need clarity from the government on where they stand on it, and do Neffet feel that theatres are safe places for families to go?
It's 3:02.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Plan your winter sun in Lanzarote, Tenerife and Gran Canaria. But hurry, seats are selling fast.
Cold and dry with clear spells. However, rain will develop in the west and spread eastwards to most areas by morning, possibly falling a sleet and snow initially over high ground. Lowest temperatures -1 to +1 degrees tonight. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, it's an unmissable Super Sunday with Chelsea versus Man United, live only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5. This is Football Saturday. Remember our coverage on Off the Ball, brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106. You can tweet us at Off the Ball. We're streaming the conversation as well. You can listen on News Talk. Also watch us on the Off the Ball digital and social channels. For Periscope on Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in your app store to download the app if you haven't already. We're joined by the former Republic of Ireland and Liverpool defender Mark Lawrenson, Irish Independent football correspondent Dan McDonnell and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward to talk about the beautiful game. Arsenal 2, Newcastle United 0 in the early game in the Premier League. So goals in the second half by Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli. Laro, a confidence-boosting win for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Thumped by Liverpool last week, but he only made one change. He brought Odegaard in for Lacazette. But I suppose the best team he could be facing right now are Newcastle.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. But it sounded, John, I'll tell you the story of my day so far, just to really bore you.
Go on.
I was working at lunchtime at the BBC. And as I was working on the programme, somebody slipped a note to me because they knew I was driving on the M62 afterwards to York. He said 4 junctions of the M62 all closed. So I was about to give you the phone call at 1:01, saying there's no way I could make it. Anyway, miraculously, they've cleared all the snow off the M62 and everything. So I've made it. Anyway, I can't even remember what you asked me.
Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm joking. So I listened on the radio and it just sounded like they were very, very comfortable. I know Newcastle had 1 or 2 chances and Arsenal goalkeeper made a couple of saves. But I think it was quite easy in the end. But apparently the quality of the 2 goals was outstanding. I just thought at Anfield last week and I was there, he just completely messed up Arteta when he went for Klopp after half an hour because of the...
Yeah, he got the fans going. And by the way, it's continued because Liverpool are 1-0 up on Southampton, Diogo Jota.
I just saw that, yeah. And because just before that, everyone goes on about, the great experience of going to Liverpool and it's great, it's this, that and the other. They were very, very quiet until that moment. And then all of a sudden they thought there was going to be a bit of a scrap. He's trying to do our bossing or whatever. And the place the roof came off and that was it. They started to play and eventually won quite comfortably.
It's interesting you talk about your day, Mark, and for anybody who's watching. Johnny, you've been Christmas shopping already, have you? Lovely scarf there.
Yeah, I have a new scarf, yeah. I had a scarf of a similar ilk that I procured in Dingle a few months ago, and I made the mistake of putting it in the washing machine, JD. So I bought one today to replace it, which won't be going in the washing machine. So yeah, Christmas shopping has started a bit early down here.
Johnny, are you sure that's brand new?
Well, I hope so. Anyway, I paid accordingly.
I was just looking at the edge of it, looked a bit frayed, mate.
me or the scarf?
Well, both possibly.
No, it's nice to have the scarf back on there, JD. It's been kind of wild weather down here. I'm just down in Dingle for the other voices for the last couple of days. So looking forward to coming back tomorrow for the FAI Cup Final.
Have you been a Dick Max yet, have you?
Ask a stupid question, to be fair, of course. Yeah, I mean, pound for pound, is there anywhere in the world that has pubs like Dingle for the size of the area? It's an amazing spot.
It was a hardware store, wasn't it? And a pub, and one the last time I was in Dingle, there was a photo of Charlie Haughey on the wall. It was a bizarre place, but I just remember the pint being absolutely outrageous.
It's between Kearns, Dick Max, Foxy John's, all these iconic places, and you're not going to get a bad point, Judy. It's interesting just with the COVID situation now. A lot of people are cancelling, doing events like this. And Dan has actually written about this in the Independent this week about the figures for the women's game the other night, that a lot of people just didn't go who'd actually bought tickets. So I hope that's not the case tomorrow, because I think we are in a kind of a delicate position with regard to that.
Well, I look forward to talking to Mark Rossiter after 4. Dan, have you had an interesting as day as Laro and Johnny so far?
I don't have anything to add really to that. I mean, John, I could just start listing sort of inane things I did today. Played a bit of five-a-side football earlier. That was about the height of it. That was high-quality fare, as Johnny could obviously attest to.
How'd you get on, Dan?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was decent, Johnny. You know, it was decent standard. We missed you. You know, we missed your sort of energy, your enthusiasm. That's what we didn't have that. You know.
Hold on, he said, how did you go on? We didn't need to know if you played well or badly. Did you win?
I mean, we did, you know, but I don't like to talk. You don't like to talk about your victories, Laura. Like, you know, it's the defeats that live with you. You know,
you should always talk about your victories.
Laura, when did you last play five-a-side?
Oh, you're joking, aren't you? Years and years and years ago. I've got long COVID, so my joints kill me. So I can't run anymore or anything like that. But hey ho, such is life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I suppose the big talking point of the week, folks, was Ollie. Last week we were like chronicling his demise on the show with the Watford game, and then he was sacked the following day, and Rangnick's come in. Laro, I suppose, he's seen as a bit of an authoritarian, obviously highly regarded in Germany as a football philosopher when it comes to gegenpress, and he's got all these protégés like Tuchel. And Klopp that have followed his way. Is he the right fit for United for the next few months, do you think?
I would argue he probably will be, because he will get them organised, and obviously he will start them to press. I mean, Klopp's press conference yesterday was very interesting, saying we all better watch out in terms of, you know, the teams up at the top of the league, because he thinks he will push the button for Manchester United. And I think he will. And look, they can only get better. They've got some really, really good players. They've got some outstanding players. And if you can get, as we've discussed all the time, we've been on these programmes, that they have no identity. They have no identity of how they play, Manchester United. You look at Chelsea, Liverpool and City, you can close your eyes and you know where the players will be. You know exactly how they play. Manchester United, you just don't know from one match to the next. I suggest that will change very, very quickly under your new man.
Ronaldo will be an interesting student of that, won't he? With the press and all that kind of. That's the question a lot of people are asking already.
Well, yeah, but you know, but hold on, you might offset Ronaldo because he scores for fun, and he might look at it a little bit differently and think, right, you know what? So we press, we get forward and we press, and we get the ball up early to Ronaldo in better positions, and he might score even more goals. But I can't see him throwing him out, saying, no, you're not going to start, because he's been excellent since he came here. I mean, his scoring record is brilliant, so keep him going.
I think it's interesting, John, the respect that the other German coaches all seem to have for Rangnick. Like, you see the comments by Klopp and by even Thomas Tuchel as well in some of the papers today, that he seems to be sort of a really revered figure in their sort of circles. And I don't know, he is obviously, I think he's 63 now. He's had a short stint in Moscow, but it was a very brief stint, so it's hard to be too sort of judgmental probably around that. But it is interesting reading the coverage that they obviously feel that they're going to get the opposite of what they had before. You know, that they're going to have something that's very technical and very, all of a sudden it's just going to be a change of approach around the place. And they're clearly looking at what happened with Tuchel probably at Chelsea last year, and how he sort of took this disparate group, or maybe this group that had talent but just didn't necessarily have that sort of focus. And they're hoping that this will work. I mean, there is no guarantees. There is nothing guaranteed, but it really is going to be interesting to see how the dressing room take to it, because you've seen a lot of sort of, performative stuff from some of the players around comments and theatrical stuff at times, and how they actually really warm to this fella straight away. It sort of adds another element to it. And if you actually look at their fixture that's coming up, it isn't unbelievable. Like, tomorrow is a very, very difficult game, but you look beyond it, and they play Arsenal during the week, and then they have a sort of a run of games where you would be fancying them to rack up some points, and you could have that energy that comes off a new manager, that bounce. And these things are always done in a very I mean, clearly you were sitting here last Saturday, I wasn't here, and it all sort of unravelled very quickly. But it's probably no harm that he's coming in really after the Chelsea game and has a little bit of a run that maybe might just get things pushed in the right direction. But as you mentioned, the tactical aspect and how the players respond to it, you'd imagine some will sink and some will suddenly thrive and probably, you know, really enjoy that direction.
I was going back through Champions League winning managers last night because I'm of a sad life, and I was also doing an FAI Cup. I'm going to bring you the wizardry of that after 4 other things I discovered about FAI Cups involving Bohemians and St Patrick's Athletic going back 100 years. But like Mourinho's last Champions League was 2010. Benitez was 2005. You take out Enrique and Flick because they're now gone international management with Germany and Spain. We live in a Tuchel, Klopp and Guardiola world now, Johnny, don't we? Like when you think about developed tactics, highly precise, intellectual, almost nerdish, hipsterish. But apart from Zidane and Ancelotti, there's no other managers who've been really winning at elite level other than those three. And they're all in the Premier League.
And 2 of them worked under Rangnick, and that's the fascinating thing. Both of them were really, really lavish in their praise from at the various press conferences yesterday. And I thought Klopp's comments were very interesting, JD. He was talking about I think it's something that we don't really speak about enough, is how many games players play nowadays. And I think we had a laugh about it earlier on the week that the Man United show inevitably was going to be something dramatic again on Tuesday, 3 days after obviously the debacle of last Saturday. The wheel just keeps on turning. But Klopp was saying that it's going to be very, very hard for him to implement his coaching ideas at Manchester United that he might want to implement, because they've so many games that basically you almost have to do these things on the pitch. But just reading about him a bit more, like I wouldn't have been all that familiar with him. He's very, very high demands in terms of that pressing game that he'd want to implement at Man United. And just reading some reports today, it sounds like a lot of the Man United players are actually definitely going to be up for this challenge. Some, I would argue, will not be, and there will be a sink or swim. What's he going to do with Pogba? The Ronaldo situation, to me, is really interesting because I think it's an intriguing debate. Ronaldo himself, as much as he hasn't scored that many goals the last sort of 6 weeks in the Premier League, his goals record has been very good, but he just can't press. He can't do it off the ball now and function as an elite player as a 36-year-old. Like, to me, it's not possible. So can you have like a high pressing team where one player is given a pass? I'm not sure about that. Manchester United have a big challenge ahead to finish in the top 4, I think. It shows just how inept the club was, JD, that by all accounts, even if they got a draw on Saturday against Watford, even if they got a draw, I think Solskjaer would have been safe. I couldn't see why they held on to Solskjaer going into that little international window, because it was clear that the game was up. So the club is being run in a really, really haphazard manner. This looks disappointment, and I'm not sure how long he's going to be there, but disappointment looks like, let's try exactly what we're not doing and bring in a coach who's completely the opposite to Solskjaer. But again, it is kind of hard to know where it'll go. It's going to be something that's fascinating. I was absolutely fed up talking about Solskjaer by the end. This guy is going to bring about a lot of changes. And as you say, with those 3 other coaches as well, Pep during the week, I thought Man City were absolutely dismantled PSG. I thought they were brilliant the way they played. Klopp, obviously, what he's doing at Liverpool in terms of trying to make them into, contenders again this season. Chelsea, to me, could be the team to beat in the league. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this lad gets on. But 2 things he's going to have to decide on are Pogba. Does he play him? Does he get rid of him? And what does he do with Ronaldo?
You could think Mark Lawrenson that he'd be really good at the likes of Sancho, who I suppose for the other night maybe made his arrival as a Man United player. Greenwood, Rashford, these types of players. But this is Manchester United. This is not RB Leipzig. This is not Schalke. I know he won a German Cup, but he's never won anything else in management. This is a big beast. You have all the ex-pros in the media. It's an industry. It's entertainment. It is a step up, whoever you are.
Yeah, well, I can only think they'll improve the results. That's the first thing. And also, I think nowadays with things like tactics with players sort of 15, 20 years ago, they were nothing like as informed as they are now. And they're used to all this. They're used to doing homework in terms of tactics, these Premier League boys and everything. So, look at how well they've done and how well maybe on occasions they haven't done. So I don't think the information that he will give them will be too complicated. And I think he'll keep it relatively simple. I just have a feeling that this is where it all stops for Manchester United, as in the failings. And I think I just think it's a really, really good appointment. And he's been around the world, this fella, hasn't he? As in, in terms of the football clubs and the places that he's been to. I'm thinking he's going to do a really, really good job, and I'm a bit disappointed with the appointment.
Yeah, as a Liverpool fan. Dan, does there have to be a thread then, Dan, say between if he leaves the hot seat as the dugout next summer, he becomes a technical consultant, that there has to be a Ten Hag or a Pochettino, and there has to be some type of philosophy before you get the players, rather than just throwing money at players and then just put them on the pitch and expect them to work?
Yeah, no, I mean, that is I suppose the longer term aspect of the appointment is there's obviously there's always this immediacy in football, and we'll always comment on the next match, and it is right, there's so many games coming up that we'll just go straight into that. But the broader point that he's actually got the 2-year gig afterwards, I think the dynamic of the relationship between that director of football and whoever their manager is, I mean, you are reading the reports this week, and it doesn't seem like Pochettino was out of the equation at all, and you think it's still likely those discussions are going to take place. But I think it's been a criticism of Manchester United in recent years has been the off-the-field direction, the off-the-field football knowledge, or the lack thereof. And they have situations there where Ed Woodward's moving on, and Rangnick seems to be very well placed to be a very influential figure around strategy. But it's very important that he's aligned with who they think is going to come in. And of course, as well, I mean, if he starts to sort of put a run of results together, you know what will happen. It's just, you can't avoid it. I mean, and in a way, they almost need to be very firm around this. And I think when he speaks and when he sort of comes out and does his unveiling and they enter into discussions, I think his input on that is going to be very important, because there's countless examples of clubs where a bad dynamic between that's a director figure and the manager almost spells disaster, and you see the clubs that thrive is where everyone is sort of pulling in the same direction, and you see that at Man City, and you've seen that at Liverpool latterly as well, and clearly Manchester United have been asleep at the wheel in many respects for a number of years, and that's something they need to address.
I think, JD, just briefly, sorry, Laura. I think the second half of the game on Tuesday it might be something of a turning point, and I think he will get a lot more out of players that haven't been playing that well. I think players will start playing for him. As you mentioned, Sancho, he looks like he could blossom into a really good player. Van de Beek has been out in the cold. He could come into it as well. And the two holding midfielders, if he can get them to kind of to know their role exactly and to turn Manchester United into more of a counter-attacking team than they have been, I think he's going to improve these players massively, because a lot of them have had really, really poor seasons.
I was just going to say, John, slightly the same about Manchester United, but if you remember when David Gill left, straight away the Americans appointed Edward Woodward. And they really, really liked him because of what he'd done for them in terms of sponsorship and all those kind of things. But they gave him this football role as well. Ed Woodward is not a football man, never has been and never will be. And I think that's one of the biggest problems Manchester United have had, is that they haven't had a constant person in there that will say to the manager, right, okay, what you're looking for, we'll sort it all out. We'll get players. We'll get 1, 2 or 3 players if we can't, in the same position. If we can't take the first one, maybe take the second one. And they've had absolutely no planning, no short-term and no long-term planning. And you can see with the buys that they've had, and I think he spent $500 million. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer apparently. So, and he just bought good players without any real thought of where they're going to play. Which, when you consider you're Manchester United, I find that staggering. And you just, look at City, look at Liverpool, look at Chelsea, and we have to. You can just see every time they sign a player, you're saying, he can play here or he can play there, or it's a definitive signing. It's not just, he's a good player, he's really done well playing for Wolves, let's take him. And they've made massive mistakes off the pitch as much as on the pitch.
Well, maybe that's what John Murtagh is there for. I mean, we have to see how he gets on, but he's the man who lined up Rangnick to come to Old Trafford.
There you go. That's a good start.
53106. We had Brian McClare and Wes Brown over a minute this week for Q&A. They had some interesting views on this guy. They were saying the squad will be in need of going to get a real wake-up call. And is Rangnick going to have the strength of character to manage the likes of Ronaldo and Pogba? That's what's needed there, says Patrick. That is the thing. One thing about it all, having all these philosophies and coaching expertise and excellence, Klopp, Mark, has that force of personality.
Oh, I think this fella will have it. He's German, don't forget. They don't take any SH1T, do they? He'll be absolutely fine. I don't think it'll be a problem. And I just get the impression with the players, they want something like this because you've seen them coming off the pitch when they've been beaten and they look mystified completely. So I think it's back to 1, 2, 3 ABC for them for a while.
Matt Targett has scored for Aston Villa. They're 1-0 up at Crystal Palace. Liverpool 1, Southampton 0. Diogo Jota on the mark. Norwich 0, Wolves 0. The Irish lads not involved in the first team for Norwich again. Adam Ida and Andrew Omo Bamidele, they're on the bench. Cloudy Glen at 33-1 has won the Ladbrokes Chase at Newbury, the former Hennessy. That is a bit of a shock.
Trevor Hemmings as well, JD, running in the colours of the late Trevor Hemmings. So it's quite a poignant victory, and his role at Preston and so forth, and Preston's kind of links with Cork City. I guess we've spoken about him at times, but by all accounts, a gentleman, and a poignant victory to see in those colours winning the big one.
Mark knew you knew him well, didn't you, Mark?
Oh, very well. I first met him in 1975, and
wow.
He was on the board at Preston. He was vice chairman then with my stepfather. I was at his memorial on Thursday, and it was a fabulous event. Who was there? Princess Anne was there. Zara Tindall, Claire Balding got up and spoke. In fact, there were 5 speakers, all from different parts of his life, kind of commercial, business, charities, all those kind of things. Peter Ridsdale spoke on behalf of the football club, and it was just a brilliant occasion. Unfortunately, I had to leave really early for I suppose it wasn't a wake because it was just a memorial service. I'd love to have stayed because I bet it would have been fantastic.
He's a powerful figure. I met him when I went over with Kevin Kilban. I think, Johnny, you might have been there. It was a trip to Preston, but I think you missed the chance to come out and chat to him. He just came over and started talking to us. And as Johnny says, like, people, I mean, his imprint is sort of, in Preston is the legacy, but the horse racing, but also the stuff with Cork City and stuff as well. That they had that relationship with Sean Maguire and Alan Brown and a couple of others as well. And his interest in that was very, very genuine. And even in latter years, some of the advance funds they paid to Cork was very valuable to the club as well at that time. So yeah,
I'll tell you, didn't he have 3 winners of the national, 3 different trainers and 3 different jockeys?
Yeah.
I remember
Ballabriggs, Many Clouds, and Hedgehunter.
Yeah, and I was on all 3.
You probably were, yeah.
I was on, of course I was, because one of his sons used to ring me and tell me if it was worth putting a bet on. Yeah, Peter, definitely.
The son didn't call you today, Laura, no? The son didn't call you today about the 33-1 shot, no?
Nah. I was too busy fighting the snow on the M62.
That's true, yeah.
He's almost, I don't know, was he a chairman from kind of another era, like the passing of an era when you see the likes of him, the old gentleman kind of owner?
Oh, I tell you what, you call him a gentleman. I mean, he was a fierce competitor in terms of negotiating and all those kind of things. And I mean, God love Peter Ridsdale, because all the games I used to go when Trevor was still alive, that Peter Ridsdale would have to have his phone on in the director's box, and Trevor would be watching on a link from the Isle of Man, which is where he lived. The phone never, ever stopped. Honestly, it was unbelievable. And I mean, Ridsdale must be delighted in many, many ways that the phone calls will now stop. But I remember one day, this is the best, he'd always go on to Peter Ridsdale and say, why has he played him? Why has the manager played him? And why is that? And it's like, yeah, right. Why is after the event? We played Leeds quite a few years ago, end of the season, nothing to play for. Leeds turned up with 6,000 people. It was just a great day, good occasion, good game, no pressure for anybody. And Trevor had come to the game, and he got his car boxed in somehow. When I say he did, his driver got his car boxed in. And he obviously was going back on the helicopter. He had 2 helicopters, one heavy for winter, one light for the summer. And he was going back in the helicopter. He couldn't get his helicopter out. And it was 10 minutes from the game, still to go. And he was ringing Ridsdale, sort this bloody helicopter out. And Ridsdale saying, I'm in the box, I'm watching the game, what do you want me to do? Ring the bloody police and sort it. I can't get home. That was Trevor.
Okay, well, he may rest in peace. Sad news. And his horse, Cloudy Glen, won today for Venetia Williams in the Ladbrokes Chase at Newbury. You were speaking there, Johnny, about Man City during the week. It was amazing, Mark. Maybe it's a reflection on PSG and the luxurious players that they have, but no Foden, no De Bruyne, no Grealish, and they were brilliant.
Yeah, listen. PSG play 1 goalkeeper, 7 other players and 3 up front, don't they? I don't get it. I just don't get PSG. And occasionally one or two of them play up front don't look particularly interested. I wouldn't say Messi would be in that three, but the other two boys sometimes can be. And I actually have a feeling there, which is, you can't touch the front three. Even if Pochettino maybe wants to not play one on occasion and play, a little bit of a different system, I think he's almost told he has to play that way because the previous managers, that's the way that it's been with him. And it just doesn't work unless the front three come up with some magic, which they can do. In those kind of games, they're just off the pace.
Southampton have just missed an absolute sitter to equalise there against Liverpool 1-0 at the moment. Broja has just missed a good chance for the Saints. So Liverpool 1, Southampton 0. And we have other games involved in Premier League clubs. Kicked off at 3. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1. Villa have started well under Steven Gerrard. And Norwich 0, Wolves 0, Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0 from earlier on. Johnny, it was really good fun to watch. I know there's obviously the oil issues around the ownership of the clubs in Qatar and UAE and all that. But if you just put that to one side and look at the game of football, Johnny, I thought Man City were fantastic.
Yeah, Judy, that's the challenge in games like this where, if you're really being honest with yourself, there's a lot wrong with the two entities involved. There's a lot wrong with the spectacle. And, even Manchester City kind of half struggling to sell their tickets for Champions League games or struggling to sell the place out. But you strip all that away. I just thought the second half was phenomenally entertaining. And, the PSG goal was fantastic football. You can see that Messi's legs aren't quite what they were, and he's slowing down a little bit, but still has that kind of intricacies of little movement. Himself, Mbappe and Neymar, the movement for the goal, the strike at the end, and that was very harsh on Man City because they had been the better team. And I would wonder with PSG just looking at them because, Pochettino's trying to, this would be a problem in Man United as well, he's trying to fit these personalities in, but doesn't really seem to function as a team. And I thought City, you mentioned De Bruyne has been out. De Bruyne is not at his best at the moment for me. I think he needs to come back to the level he was at post-injury or whatever, but the players that they had, the two goals were just fantastic. And I love the way they turned the game around and kind of squeezed the life out of PSG, and it was really, really good football. Was it the pass for the last goal, which I'm trying to remember who made the pass now? It was like the ball down
Bernardo
to
Silva to Gabriel Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just the way they played City, and it's going to be brilliant into the league campaign because I know we talk about the FAI Cup Final second half show, but the strength of the Premier League at the moment is phenomenal. And you look at some of the other clubs who can't really compete with the likes of Man City in Europe. Man City were brilliant the other night, and this is the season for them. This is the one where Guardiola's going to go for the Champions League. This is the one aim I think this season that he's really after, possibly at the expense of the league. And so far, so good for them. I thought they were brilliant the second half, particularly after being a little bit unfortunate to be behind, I felt.
The thing is about it, though, he can target the Champions League as much as he can, but the Premier League clubs are sort of imperious at the moment, and in reality, it's very likely that, City are always going to get through that group. They're just going to end up in that sort of knockout situation later in the year, and that's it. I think I know that this is the ultimate target. I sort of do agree with you, Johnny, that that's what he wants to win, but there's not much he can do, at this stage. It just feels like they're all sort of, with the exception of Manchester United, obviously, and we'll see what happens to them. I think, and I was making the point on with Joe during the week, the top clubs in the Premier League at the moment, the bar they're hitting is very high, and you're actually seeing it in the European games now, that you're getting to the stage where I know there have been all Premier League finals in recent years, and there's been a couple going back even to sort of Chelsea, Man U in 2008 or whenever it was, but I just don't think it's ever really been stronger at the top end. And you actually just know that as much as you can talk about City targeting Europe, they're going to end up in probably in reality at some stage later in the competition a two-legged tie, probably one of their English rivals, and see what happens, and I think it'd be dangerous to be thinking in that way. I don't think they will be. They've got a battle in their hands to sort of to win the league, but I don't know, the Premier League clubs generally, I don't know what you think, Laura, but I'm not sure if the bar set by those top clubs has ever been as high.
No, it's not. It absolutely isn't. And it's just the quality of the pace week after week after week. But just going back to Guardiola there, you know, I thought a great chance to win it was a couple of years ago when they went to Lyon. Yeah. And then didn't he play a really strange system, formation or whatever? And I just think
2-0 to Liverpool, Diogo Jota again. Brilliant move. Salah set him in.
Keep informing us, John. It's working. It's good. So I think he messed up that particular day. And I don't think, luckily having been there, you can target any competition that you want, but it doesn't necessarily work that way. And I know our lot in the boot room always said if we win anything, we'll be absolutely totally delighted. And people say got to win this year and you've got to win that. Football has a habit of not allowing you to do that.
Alexander-Arnold.
It was Rodri with the pass. Sorry, I was just looking back there. It was Rodri with that pass to the back post. Walker put it across. That pass from Rodri, and I thought his performance second half as well. And if you are talking about the Champions League, the fact that they could do that against PSG in bad circumstances and end up squeezing the life out of them, probably the most, I suppose the most impressive team outside of England, really, in terms of the quality that they have. For me, I think they're going to be very hard to beat the Champions League this year. Fabulous
move involving Alexander-Arnold, Henderson, Salah and Diogo Jota, who finished into the net for 2-0 lead for Liverpool over Southampton.
So John, are you saying that Salah played somebody in?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he got the assist mark, as they call it in
right. So he couldn't have scored in that particular situation.
No, he actually couldn't. No, he was too.
Wow, happy days.
Yeah,
things are looking up.
He did one last week too, as well, didn't he?
No, he did. Yeah, no, he did.
For Mane, because I always thought he didn't get on.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah.
I think Salah's I don't think he's ever played better than he's playing at the moment.
Brilliant. He's brilliant. Sensational. Honestly, great.
What did you make of your man Tyler Morton during the week, Mark, the young lad?
I was there. He did really, really well. I'm always a little bit loath, because he did very, very well. And everyone said, oh, he's going to be this, he's going to be that. I'm not sure eventually whether he'll play for Liverpool generally in the Premier League on a regular basis. I think he's going to make a really good living out of the sport. But I don't see him, in Liverpool's squad in the next 18 months, 2 years, because as well as he did, you need an awful lot of skill in that particular position. And by the way, Thiago was sensational. Thiago, it was like an exhibition game for him. Forget about the goal, which was outstanding. His passing and his awareness. I just wish he was 5 years younger, because we know he hasn't got a great deal of pace and he gets a lot of injuries, but he was head and shoulders above anybody on that pitch. He was brilliant.
That's interesting. So you feel it sounds like it was his first game for Liverpool in a way, because it's not been the easiest of runs since he joined from Munich.
For Thiago, I've seen him he's played really well in some games. I can't really remember a run where he's had 4, 5 or 6. I'm probably miles off the ball, again, excuse the pun. But it always seems he comes in, does well for 2 or 3 games. You think, go on then. And then he gets a little knock. And the little knocks, unfortunately, now seem to take 2, 3, 4 weeks for him to get over, which is a pity.
OK, we've got to take a break on Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. Mark Lawrenson, Johnny Ward and Dan McDonnell. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 2, Southampton 0, Norwich 0, Wolves 0 in the Premier League. Earlier on, Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0. And in the Championship, full-time Preston 1, Fulham 1. Latest scores, Birmingham 0, Blackpool 0. It is Bournemouth 0, Coventry 0. Huddersfield 0, Middlesbrough 2. So Middlesbrough leading there. Hull 1, Millwall 0. It is Luton 0, Cardiff 1. It is Peterborough 0, Barnsley 0. Stoke 0, Blackburn Rovers 0. Swansea 1, Reading 2 is the latest score. And in Scotland, Dundee FC 2, Motherwell 0. It is Hearts 0, St Mirren 0, and also goalless in the games between Ross County and Dundee United and St Johnstone and Hibernian. We're back after this.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Christmas can be a difficult time of year, especially for families affected by cancer. This weekend on News Talk, we're asking you to help provide vital services to cancer patients and their loved ones by supporting the Irish Cancer Society's online Christmas shop. We'll hear from families affected by the disease and specialist nurses who provide end-of-life care for patients in their homes. You can help fund vital cancer research and ensure no one has to face a cancer diagnosis alone. Make a difference. Please visit newstalk.com/Christmas.
It's not too late. The Black Friday sale continues at Harvey Norman with wardrobes from just €225, single mattresses from a low €199. Plus, get a massive 50% off luxurious cozy throws with a huge range in stock, ready for quick delivery. Now's the time to buy. But hurry, the Harvey Norman Black Friday sale must end soon. Don't miss out.
InsureMyCars.ie. Don't cut corners on your car insurance. Get a better quote at InsureMyCars.ie, Ireland's trusted car insurance specialists. We search the market to get you the best cover at the lowest prices. InsureMyCars.ie. City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyCars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At Centra, we have everything you need for Christmas, like selected soft drinks like Coca-Cola 20-can pack, only €10. Jacob's USA Elite and afternoon tea biscuit tins, €8 each. And until Sunday, our Christmas cracker offer on Newgan Estate 3rd generation and Aresti Estate selection, €6 each. Centra, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
As the ongoing effects of Brexit on Irish business become clearer, the SBCI, in conjunction with the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment and the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine, has launched the Brexit Impact Loan Scheme. This scheme will make loans available at reduced interest rates to Brexit-impacted SMEs, small mid-caps, farmers and fishers to help them address the challenges presented by Brexit. Loans range from €25,000 up to €1.5 million, with terms up to 6 years and unsecured up to €500,000. Terms and conditions apply. Find out how your business can access the Brexit Impact Loan Scheme at sbci.gov.ie or call 1-800-804-482. This is a Government of Ireland initiative delivered by the SBCI.
At Betfair, we know how it feels when you're in the moment, in the heat of the match, and you decide to hit cash out. Only to find cash out is suspended and you're frozen out of your bet. That's why when you bet fair on football, you can cash out when you want, with no cash-out suspensions on match odds. And now also over or under goal markets, because we're Betfair.
Applies to selected sportsbook markets and the majority of football. Excludes free bets and bet settlement window. T's and C's apply. 18 plus, see gamblingcare.ie.
There are those who fear change, those who welcome change, and those who drive change. At Nissan, we've always believed in driving change. Now, the all-new Nissan Qashqai is here. With the style and tech you want and the power you need, it's the future-proof family car. So, are you ready for change? The all-new Nissan Qashqai, electrified with mild hybrid power. Book a test drive today at nissan.ie. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
In the 10th century, the Vikings chose Waterford as the best place to live in Ireland for its trading potential. And in 2021, the Irish Times has chosen Waterford as the best place to live in Ireland for a whole lot more. Like its affordability, friendliness and vibrancy. The fact that it's the perfect size, neither too small or too big. Its easy access to the countryside, mountains and sea. Its rich history and culture. And as a place transforming day by day, Ireland's oldest city has never been more ready for modern Ireland living. Visit waterford2040.com for more.
Johnny boy, oh Johnny boy.
Out now at Golden Discs.
As the clock winds
Flying into Mystery, the superb new studio album from Christy Moore.
When there should be a seafarer.
And No Nukes. Bruce Springsteen's legendary 1979 live concert now available for the first time. The new albums from Christy Moore and Bruce Springsteen. Sounds like Christmas at Golden Discs and goldendiscs.ie.
Arnott's Christmas Mega is now on and it's too big to contain. With 20% off almost everything. Something this mega won't stick around for long. Arnott's Christmas Mega must end Monday. See arnotts.ie for details.
This Christmas, give the gift of books from Eason, with something for everyone, like astronaut Chris Hadfield's space thriller The Apollo Murders. Fascinating historical insights in Valerie Cox's Independence Memories. Kids will love Daughter of the Deep from Percy Jackson creator Rick Riordan, and Adam Kay's educational, entertaining, marvellous medicine. That's Christmas gifts bringing us together again at Eason, in-store and online.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, it's an unmissable Super Sunday with Chelsea versus Man United, live only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. This is Football Saturday. Remember, our football coverage on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. And don't forget, that tomorrow, Brentford versus Everton, is live only on Sky Sports on Super Sunday. We're joined by Mark Lawrenson, the former Republic of Ireland and Liverpool defender, Irish independent football correspondent Dan McDonnell, and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward to talk about the beautiful game. Get in touch on 53106. Lara, you were talking about him. He's just scored. Thiago, 3-0 now.
Can't do anything wrong. He'll probably pull his hamstring now and be out for 6 weeks.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. It's not funny at Spurs, Lara. I was reading Antonio Conte's quotes. He looked in shock on Thursday night after losing to Mura in the Conference League. The level's not that high. He questioned the quality. He says he's not a magician. How long is it going to take for him to turn it around, given we take for granted that he will get the support of Joe Lewis and Daniel Levy?
Yeah, well, I don't think there'd be... they'll be competitive until the end of the season, won't they? I wouldn't think... It's not easy to get players, is it, in the January transfer window? And you certainly you can't get Champions League players also because they're already in there. So I think you're looking... Well, he's signed for 18 months, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he might be gone before he got them much better. No, it will improve them, John. Look, I haven't seen much of Tottenham, to be honest with you. And... Has Kane scored in the league much? Well, I know he's not. He scored for England and all that.
He scored in Newcastle. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Right.
What other games? Very few.
Yeah, he's the one at the moment. He's a conundrum because he is a really, really top player. Is he not getting enough service? Has Son gone off a little bit? Lucas Moura, all those kind of players, and it's a very, very, very strange one. Maybe in January, they might decide to let Kane go. If Kane doesn't perform, Conte's the kind of guy who'll go to Daniel Levy and say, look, he's not playing. Let's get the money in and then let me start buying players who I think can improve us.
1 goal in 11 Premier League games, for Harry Kane.
There you go.
So far this season. I'm just going through the 3 o'clock games, Dan. Norwich, Wolves, goalless. Palace 0, Villa 1 and Liverpool 3, Southampton 0. The lads at Norwich, you'd hope that Dean Smith might give them a shot, you know?
Well, you mean, yeah, you would. I don't know. I think Dean Smith's probably come in and he's looking at a club that's then struggling, like in a relegation battle. And I suppose you can understand to some degree while the instinct would be to go with the slightly more established players defensively. He's gone with the Grant Hanley and Ben Gibson centre halves. I mean, Omar Bamidele did play just before the international break, and there was 1 or 2 little suspension issues and stuff, and you thought, and earlier in the season Farke had been playing 3 at the back as well too. I think he's the one who's probably got more of a case to feel a small bit hard done by. I think Ida, he's getting minutes, he is sporadically getting minutes here and there, but he hasn't necessarily seized them either. Now, I suppose there comes a point where you have to give him a chance. And I know there's a midweek round of Premier League games coming up and the Christmas period is coming up. So you will have that sort of 3 games a week thing going on that maybe he gets his chance. But I think with Ida, it's more of a case of he really needs to think about the loan scenario in January. It's you would expect that Norwich, in trying to stay up, that they haven't scored a huge amount of goals, and you'd imagine come January they'd be looking to maybe strengthen in that area. Everyone always looks for something in January that can be that sort of that option to get them through the rest of the season, and maybe Ida can go and be that person for a club in the Championship. Omar Bamidele's been a bit unlucky, I think, and I wouldn't, you keep hearing great reports of how he's regarded at the club. You know, you sort of speak to people over there who say, they really put him on a pedestal in terms of how he sort of hit all the levels and all the indicators he's hitting with their sports science and stuff like that. So I think he'll get chances actually, but I think Ida's getting to the stage where, I think he needs to look at doing something for himself in January, because he was not good for Ireland in Luxembourg and when he got the chance, and definitely looked like someone who needed it.
And maybe Hendrick as well at Newcastle.
Yeah, John, can I just say a thing with Ida? Is it also not because Pukki likes to play up front on his own?
Yeah, I think that's it. And they've brought in, isn't it Josh Sargent, who they come in from Germany, I think, is the American, who seems that he's happy enough to play wide, even though him and Ida appeared to be competing initially. But that does appear to be one of the issues, that even when Ida's come on in games, he's been more. And Ida actually wants to play through the middle in reality too. Like underage growing up, like Edith scored a stack of goals for Ireland at underage level, and he was always a number 9. You know, he was never someone who was sort of playing off the left or off the right. So that is an issue as well, definitely.
And Hendrick on the bench today, Dan, for Newcastle. At least he's on the bench. At least he's in the squad.
Yeah, I mean it's small steps really. I mean he was out of the squad completely under Graham Jones and Bruce, and we'll see. Like Hendrick's one of those that, again, and it's more maybe talking to Irish players and stuff, but everyone says in training he's brilliant. He's one of these players that, you know, players always understand why he was picked because they can see it day to day, but he's not necessarily beloved by, you know, supporters anywhere because he's maybe struggled to sort of produce and perform. And you're hoping Eddie Howe will, you know, that there'll be a sort of they'll get off in the right wavelength and it could open the door for him there. But again, I mean, if any club's going to go and buy players in January, it's going to be Newcastle, really, isn't it?
Yeah. You mentioned Spurs as well, JD. Just some of those Irish players, Doherty taken off after 53 minutes the other night. It's strange. Like a lot of these players that are you know, Stephen Kenny is relying on or whatever, it's just not happened for them at club level. And it is testament to Stephen Kenny that he's been able to get good performance out of them, with the exception of Ida to an extent, because these club struggles are a concern.
The good news is, Johnny, they'll be fresh.
Yeah,
there will be that. Yeah. Sometimes maybe it's release as well. You come in and like you put so much effort in because you know at least you're getting your game. But the Ida one is interesting because, you know, you would have been hoping he would have kicked on a bit from now. And like there are parts of this Irish campaign where he's been very good, including against Portugal at times. And he was pushed over what should have been a blatant penalty against Luxembourg, and that kind of changes the narrative. But he just looks like a player that badly needs to get a run of game somewhere. Possibly up front, but somebody up top with him that he can play beside. But like his career is, it's early days, but his career is slightly plateauing at the moment.
5-3-1-6.
We'll take him. We'll take him for the 6 months. Preston.
Oh, he scored a hat-trick there, didn't he, in the FA Cup?
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that information.
Yeah, he's got. It's like a racing thing. Trevor Hemmings would have appreciated a bit of course and distance for him. You know, this is it. Absolutely. Like he loves detail. He's good there. You know.
Well, they've enough Irish lads, don't they, at the moment? Shawnee Maguire started today.
Well, there you go, John.
Brown.
It's getting better. It's getting better by the second because you get a really good welcome.
Yeah,
it'd be a good option for him, I think.
Adam Brown and Shawnee Maguire playing in the game against Fulham, a 1-1 draw in the Championship earlier on today. I was going through the Spurs players that, like Conte, could offload: Doherty, Ali, Winks, Ndombele, Sanchez, Rodon, Lo Celso, Bergwijn. Needs complete clear out, I think, at Tottenham in the January.
Well, don't they think that Dele Alli's gone big time? Hasn't he got his girlfriend in a pop group or something or whatever, and he's changed his hairstyle and all that kind of thing? So all the old boys think.
Yeah, it's just sad. I think it's just really sad.
Yeah, it's a great ability, crikey. Yeah, especially in the position that he plays. What a waste.
Yeah, it is sad. I would have said a few years ago he'd end up at West Ham, but I can't say that anymore because West Ham are a good football club now.
I'll tell you what, John. Moisey would take him.
Would he?
Oh, well, yeah, he'd love that. It's a project. He'd love it.
Like Jesse Lingard was, yeah. Jesse Lingard.
Yeah, and just the fact that, you know, they're going really well and everything, and he's got a really good bunch of players in terms of attitude as well as obviously the getting the results and ability, and he'd have to buy into it. And Moisey would get him playing. There's no doubt about that whatsoever.
The women's team the other day, Dan, against Slovakia, it was a bit disappointing after the great win in Finland. We play Georgia now on Tuesday. I suppose if we win that game, we're still ahead of Finland and Slovakia, but there's a little bit more pressure on the girls now on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia aren't meant to be particularly good, and I think it's a game they have to win. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed the other night, to be honest, John. They sort of, that sort of, you know, 2 steps forward and 1 back, rather than anything too dramatic. At least they didn't lose the game, but it's such a big campaign for them, and it's, in some ways, the pressure, you can say an aspect of it is unfair, and another way, you know, they have to embrace it, but they want to be that first team to like make that breakthrough. And you hear the anecdotal tales of how much sponsors and commercial people are dying to get on board with this, and they are very keen to get on board with it. And you've seen some of them like Sky Ireland and a couple of others come in, but there's that sense that they need to make that leap. And by winning last month in Finland, they've put themselves in a terrific position. And yet, when it came to it the other night at home, I don't know, they just struggled. It was, they didn't really play with a great sort of positivity or freedom like you would have hoped, you know, that last month would have got them over that hump. And it was actually back to some of the failings that let them down last year when they sort of blew it in the Euros campaign. So they should win on Tuesday. But I was actually just looking at their fixtures the other day, and in reality, if all results go as you would expect, they have a double header next September when they play Finland at home and Slovakia away, and I think they're probably going to be the biggest 2 games of their lives. And I think, hopefully the forerunner to the biggest one, because they want to get into a playoff. But I think really the whole campaign looks to be coming round to that week in September next year, presuming everything goes to plan between now and then, which it should. They should beat Georgia twice and probably lose to Sweden, and then have a real chance in the last 2 matches.
Laura, enjoy the chat this afternoon, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
I shall try. Cheers, boys.
All right, Mark Lawrenson there, and we're going to have Mark Rossiter, former FAI Cup winner and player for Bohemians and St. Pat's, after 4 as we build up to the FAI Cup Final tomorrow. Just to let you know, in the Premier League, we've got some half-time reports to give you. Liverpool against Southampton, and Shane Pennington has got the details.
It's Liverpool 3, Southampton 0, and Jurgen Klopp's side are in imperious form here at Anfield this afternoon. They took the lead after just 2 minutes. Sadio Mane finding Robertson, who crossed for Diego Jota. It was 2-0 on 32. Henderson playing in Salah this time down the right-hand side, and again he crossed for Jota to tap home from 6 yards out. And then the best goal of the game came on 38 minutes when Southampton cleared their lines up to the edge of the box, and Thiago Silva picked it up, went past 2 players before smashing it high into the net from 18 yards out. Southampton have rarely threatened. Adam Armstrong's forced a good save from Alisson, but that's all they've offered. Liverpool 3, Southampton 0.
And a half-time from Norwich against Wolves. From Carrow Road, Ian Beach.
Norwich 0, Wolves 0, but right at the end of the first half we had the best chance of the game. It was Norwich's right back Max Aarons getting forward, exchanging passes inside the Wolves penalty area, then getting to the corner of the 6-yard box. He kind of got his feet in a muddle, and all he could do was shoot straight at the Wolves goalkeeper Jose Sarr from close range. Norwich will be pleased with the way they've played. Wolves have soaked up the pressure, so they'll be pleased as well. It's Norwich 0, Wolves 0.
And half-time, Crystal Palace against Aston Villa. From Selhurst Park, and Josh Smith.
Half-time at Selhurst Park, it is Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1. Matt Targett's opener. The difference so far, it was a corner that was looking for Tyrone Mings. He went down with a head injury, and Targett put the ball in at the back of the net. Mings since then has had a very, very good first half, and he's snuffed out pretty much everything. The only couple of half chances that the hosts have managed is Wilfred Zaha getting the ball on the edge of the box, twisting and turning, putting 2 defenders down, but dragged his shot wide, and Christian Benteke with a header which was way over the bar. On the flip side, McGinn nearly made it 2 with a fantastic curling effort. Ollie Watkins in the thick of it, played it to McGinn, rolled his man, and it's a fantastic curling effort. He kept curling and curling. It looked like it was going to sneak in, but he went just wide. At the break, it is Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1.
Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. Football Saturday is back after the news between 4 and 5.
This weekend on News Talk, we're asking you to support the Irish Cancer Society's Christmas shop to help provide vital services to patients and their loved ones. Make a difference. Please visit cancer.ie/Christmas.
Share the wonder of Dromoland Castle this Christmas. Choose from afternoon tea, overnight stay, spa treats, a golf day, or let your loved one decide with a Dromoland Castle gift card. Share some Dromoland Castle wonder this Christmas. A place where dreams come true. See dromoland.ie.
Go eco with Samsung at Power City. Buy a selected Samsung washing machine or tumble dryer between now and the 31st of December, and Samsung will offset its lifetime carbon use. Look out for the leaf on powercity.ie.
Deck the halls this Christmas with totally unlimited Air Fibre broadband. Our strongest, most reliable broadband connection, straight to the heart of your home. For just $34.99 a month, stream the latest movies, game to your heart's content, and download your favourite music. With Ireland's #1 broadband provider. Call 1-800-500-300, go in store, or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. Subject to availability. Pricing refers to Air Gigabit Fibre 150 meg. For full terms and conditions, go to air.ie/gigabit fibre.
This Christmas at Super Value, we have great offers to help you share the magic. Like Super Value Fresh Irish Sirloin Steak, half price. Selected Nestle pouches, large bars and multi-packs, any 4 for €4. Coca-Cola 20-pack cans, only €10. And Heineken 24-pack cans, only €20. Christmas delivery slots now available at supervalue.ie. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
This is Eamon Coughlin for Goal. Millions of children fleeing conflict will spend Christmas far from home, cold, hungry, scared and alone. They're existing on the very edge of life. This year, their need is more urgent than ever. Goal staff on the ground are providing urgent supplies. So now I'm asking you to support families in places like South Sudan and Syria. Please make a Christmas donation now at goal.ie. That's goal.ie. Thank you.
At Betfair, we know how it feels when you're in the moment, in the heat of the match, and you decide to hit cash out. Only to find cash out is suspended and you're frozen out of your bet. That's why when you bet fair on football, you can cash out when you want, with no cash-out suspensions on match odds. And now also over or under goal markets, because we're Betfair.
Applies to selected sportsbook markets and the majority of football. Excludes free bets and bet settlement window. T's and C's apply. 18+, see gamblingcare.ie.
Some days the couch just calls to us.
Take a seat. Grab the remote. My cushions are extra cozy today.
And while we all want to get off the couch to set a healthier routine, not knowing how to start can feel overwhelming. Healthy Ireland is a trusted source for easy-to-follow tips and advice, like getting a friend involved with your healthy habits so they'll be able to motivate you on those tougher days. Search Healthy Ireland and get set for life this winter. From Healthy Ireland, a Government of Ireland initiative supporting health and well-being for everyone, and helping us off our couches.
Things that make you feel good. That holiday? Booked. That surprise birthday party that stays a surprise. A delayed catch-up?
Hi. Good to see you.
Caught. Or that switch you wanted to make? Flipped. Switch to Mini Electric and enjoy all those feels behind the wheel with a drive designed to leave you smiling. Mini Electric. The feel-good switch is on.
Here at the Guinness Storehouse, we're known for bringing the best ingredients together to create a magical experience that's worth the wait. And this Christmas is no different. This year, the Guinness Storehouse presents our first ever Winterfest. With music and entertainment, a show-stopping Christmas tree curated by award-winning designer Annie Atkins. And of course, the most important ingredients of all, you, your friends, and your family. Book your tickets today at guinnessstorehouse.com. Get the facts, be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
Cool, calm and considered. Black Friday at Kildare Village is a classy affair, with spectacular savings and more than 100 designer brands in one charming open-air setting. Enjoy something delicious in gorgeous restaurants and exciting pop-ups under crisp blue skies. Experience an unforgettable day out. Something beautiful bought, a memory made. The Black Friday event finishes Monday at Kildare Village. Something extraordinary every day.
You're finally able to travel as normal again. So here's a brief refresher on how to take the train. The train, for those who don't remember, is the big, long thing that runs on tracks. Face coverings, of course, must be worn. On board, you can relax, watch the world go by, take a nap, or even listen to music from the popular hit parade. Please do not dance on the train. If travelling with a spouse or acquaintance, engage them in light conversation or break out the cards for a spirited game of bridge. Yes, it's all fun and games on the train. Rediscover the joy of the train with great fares at irishrail.ie. Éireann Road Éireann, part of the Transport for Ireland network.
Listen live or listen back on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud. News Talk already gives you your daily fix of news and entertainment. But wouldn't you like a little bit more? More? News Talk Extra is everything you might have missed. Plus, expert tips, podcasts and competitions. All straight to your inbox. Subscribe now at newstalk.com/extra. On 106 to 108 FM. On the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud and smart speakers. This is News Talk.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Bernadette Jamieson. The number of patients being treated in hospital for COVID-19 has fallen sharply today compared with yesterday. There's been a decrease of 35, with a total of 536 people currently receiving hospital treatment for the virus, 121 of whom are in ICU. 4,791 new cases were also reported today by the Department of Health. 2 cases of the new variant of COVID-19 have been discovered in the UK. Omicron was detected in 2 people and the cases are linked to travel in South Africa. British Health Secretary Sajid Javid said the cases were detected in Brentwood in Essex and in Nottingham.
They have detected 2 cases of this new variant, Omicron, in the United Kingdom. The 2 individuals concerned are self-isolating alongside their whole household. The 2 cases are linked.
Pantomimes around the country are suffering cancellations due to the uncertainty created by NPHET. That's according to Alan Hughes, the producer of a panto due to start in the National Stadium next month. In a letter to government this week, CMO Tony Houlihan said children under 12 should avoid communions, nativity plays and comparable indoor seasonal events. Alan Hughes says they've invested a lot of money and need clarity.
We've already invested 300,000 into our production. Sets are built, people are booked, costumes are ready, everything is ready to go. I mean, that's a huge investment. And now for this uncertainty to come down the line, we just need some clarity that we can to say that are we going ahead or are they stopping professional theatres from performing their shows?
Finally, Fine Gael Senator says anyone who wishes to bet on the lottery shouldn't be able to do so in a bookies. Barry Ward says almost 30 cents from every euro is being deprived from the Good Causes Fund from those bets. Mr Ward said he has no particular love for the lottery itself, but the money it puts back into communities is vital.
It's not perfect, and I'm not encouraging anyone to bet on the National Lottery. But if you want to have a flutter on the lotto, do so in a way that means that your fellow citizens and your neighbours and your community get something back from it, rather than putting it into the profit margins of large international betting companies and indeed smaller local betting companies, but private interests.
It's 4:02.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. See friends and family this Christmas. But hurry, seats are selling fast.
Cold and dry with clear spells. However, rain will develop in the west and spread eastwards to most areas by morning, possibly falling a sleet and snow initially over high ground. Lowest temperatures -1 to +1 degrees tonight. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, it's an unmissable Super Sunday with Chelsea versus Man United, live only on Sky Sports.
And you are welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through till 5 o'clock. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball, listen on News Talk. Also watch us on the digital and social channels for Periscope on Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in your app store to download it if you haven't already. Just go through the sports news and scores in the Premier League. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0 earlier on. Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli with the goals for the Gunners. Half time, Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1. So Stephen Gerrard has started well as Villa boss with Matt Targett on the mark in the first half. Liverpool really playing well, 3-0 up now against Southampton. Diogo Jota with 2 and Thiago with the third goal. Half time, Norwich 0, Wolves 0. Brighton and Leeds kick off at 5:30. In the Championship it ended Preston 1, Fulham 1. Half time, Birmingham 0, Blackpool 0. Latest scores, Bournemouth 1, Coventry 0. It is Huddersfield 0, Middlesbrough 2. At the moment it's Hull 1, Millwall 1. Luton 0, Cardiff 1. It is Peterborough 0, Barnsley 0. Stoke 0, Blackburn 0. And half time score, Swansea 1, Reading 2. In Scotland, Dundee 2, Motherwell 0 is the latest. Hearts 0, St Mirren 0. It is Ross County 0, Dundee United 0. And St Johnstone 1, Hibernian 0. Not so sleepy and Everton dead heated in the fighting fifth hurdle at Newcastle, and Cloudy Glen at odds of 33-1 has won the Ladbrokes Chase at Newbury, the feature race there. And just to let you know as well, folks, the championship draws are through for 2022. We know we have the football championship pretty much traditional with provinces and then a backdoor. In Connacht, it'll be New York against Sligo, London versus Leitrim, and Mayo versus Galway in the opening rounds, semi-finals. Mayo and Galway to play London or Leitrim, with Roscommon or Sligo to take on, Roscommon to play Sligo or New York. In Leinster, first round, Louth against Carlow, Laois against Wicklow and Offaly versus Wexford. Quarterfinals, Dublin, the champions, against Offaly or Wexford. Meath versus Laois or Wicklow. Kildare against Louth or Carlow. And Westmeath versus Longford. In Ulster, All-Ireland champions Tyrone against Fermanagh in the preliminary round. Then quarterfinals, the winners of that game against Derry. Donegal against Armagh. Antrim versus Cavan and Monaghan versus Down. And the Leinster and Munster Hurling Championships, we know are round robins. In round 1 in Leinster, Westmeath against Kilkenny, Wexford against Galway, the pick of them, and Dublin versus Laois. And in Munster we'll have a repeat of the All-Ireland final with the All-Ireland champions Limerick to take on Cork, with Waterford against Tipperary and Clare involved in round 2 for their first game against Tipperary. Delighted to be joined by Mark Rossiter, the former Bohemians and St Pat's and Dundalk player, in studio. How are you, Mark?
I'm good. How are you keeping?
It's FAI Cup Final weekend, Mark. You won the Cup in 08. It's just fantastic to see. There'll be over 35,000 fans there tomorrow for Bows and Pats. First Dublin final since 2000. And I think that the work that the clubs are doing in their communities and a more, I suppose, exciting league that we've had in recent times has given an interest that's probably bigger than we've seen in a while now for a cup final. It's going to be a great day tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, two of the best footballing teams, I suppose the best brand of football, let's say. So it's you know, you would have preferred, let's say, if it was regional from around the country with Dundalk and Waterford. Possibly might have been as big a crowd, if not bigger. But with the two Dublin teams, as you say, not since 2000, it'll be hopefully a spectacle for everybody.
You've been here, you've worn the T-shirt, you've lifted that cup in 2008 with Bowes.
Mm-hmm.
What stands out? I'm not going to talk about penalty shootouts now or anything like that, but...
I missed, I know, but Brian Murphy...
Oh, we knew that, John. John knew that, Rossi. It was too nice to actually say it to you, but, you know...
Keeper didn't save it. I hit the upright. So, just beforehand when we're talking, it's the weirdest things that you remember, you know, walking out on the pitch and you see split crowd in the RDS either side, and I'm walking out and everybody had a mascot with them, you know, and I'm walking out and there was this young lad, little blondie fella, and I'm like, how you doing? I'm Mark, nice to meet you. And he goes, I know who you are, my dad's the manager. And it was Pat's young fella, Piers.
Pat Fenlon's son.
Yeah, it was Piers. And I'd love to know how old he is now because it'd make me feel really old. But look at it. It was one of them. Fortune favoured us on the day. 2-2 was freezing. You know, and Brian Murphy is the hero, saving 2, and Kalonis as well, scoring the winner. So
he made 49 appearances for Lithuania. My research was telling me last night. So
yeah, he was an unbelievable footballer. You'd probably look at him now, the way that football has gone now, you know, in the UK and Ireland and stuff, and everybody playing 4-3-3. Him in a 10 would be unbelievable. He was a fabulous player. His awareness, you know, but in that particular time everybody was playing 4-4-2, so it was a hard one for him with the front three that we had with Neil Fenn, Glenn Crowe, Jason Byrne, where he was going to fit in that. And most of the time he was on the wing when he was playing, but fabulous footballer. He really was. Yeah.
Did you have the butterflies, Mark? It was the cup final. I know you'd won the league that season. Was it a thing? The occasion, the game, or
no? It was kind of like,
game?
Do you know what? It was drilled into us that it's like the cup is an added bonus. But it was kind of like the best team in the country wins the league every year. It was just the icing on the cake. Did we deserve it on the day? You know, we got as I say, a bit of luck. Was it a handball? Sammy Morrow's hand was in a.
Stephen Kenny was talking. Stephen Kenny was the Derry manager, and I heard him talking during the week to Alan Cawley. And he's still sick over that final loss. He says Derry were the better side on the day, Rossi. So what do you think?
Nobody remembers losers. Look, it was one of them. We went in and it was like, you know, we were unbelievable in the league that season. You know, people talk about winning being a habit, let's say, and that particular season we felt like we were going to win every game. And, you know, maybe we just got the rub of the green that day. Stephen Kenny obviously feels that we did. And that's what it was, really.
Is there a little pang now? Like you mentioned that for you the cup final was an add-on, but I think the cup final's had a resurgence since it's gone to the Aviva. And I know you would have been at Pat's in 2012, but had you just left or around that time?
No, I was in. I tore my cruciate, so I missed that season. But I was part of the squad that lost against Derry.
Yeah. So you were around the place, and you just left probably Dundalk before they started getting to the finals, was it? So,
No, I wasn't fortunate enough. I was in the squad or whatever, but I wasn't. You know, I wasn't even talked about for Pats for that. We had full strength squad, and I you know, there was 3 or 4 of us out of the squad. Let's say.
Yeah, but you know the point that it feels now that it's gone to the Aviva, and now it's just gone to another level. It moved around for a while. It was in the RDS. 2009, I think, was in Tala. You know, that was a little sort of in-between period when the stadium was being done. That I feel now, I'd say that, I mean, the Rovers players are delighted. Shamrock Rovers players are delighted they've won the league, but they'll be sick watching this tomorrow because it feels like it's the game now that everyone tunes into.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, everybody wants to play in that. Bulls were fortunate enough to play a couple of times in Europe this year. It looks unbelievable, even being there to watch it. I'm going tomorrow. I'll be in the Bowes End watching it, and you know, there's a part of you looking at it there, going, you wish now that you got that opportunity to do so, because being a Sligo boy, I was there in Lansdowne Road when they won the cup in '94, and you know, that was in front of whatever amount of thousand, but it's where the national team play, and you know, look, it's just, as I said, it would have been one of them things that's the icing on the cake. Do I feel aggrieved that I didn't get to it? No, absolutely not. I feel that the players should enjoy every minute of it. Conan Byrne was saying earlier on today, he can't remember much of the time when he was there, so take everything in, drink it all in, because it's, as I said, it's the little things that make no sense that you remember. So take your photos or videos or whatever, and just enjoy the day. And there's a lot riding on it for Bohs, because obviously Europe is at stake. So it'll be, as I said, hopefully a spectacle.
You have a huge audience when you get texts in from two separate people. Pierce's uncle here, he's 21 now, and another one I taught Pierce in secondary school. He's had his leaving cert in 2019, so he's about 21 now. Sorry, Mark. So it's just gas stuff. And Virgil van Dijk has scored for Liverpool 4-0 now against Southampton from an Alexander-Arnold corner. Like, Johnny, for me, I was reading some really good articles. Dan did one, and there was one in the Irish Times and Gavin Cummins-Key about the fact that Bohemians have done such great work in the community, as have St. Pat's, and there's an identity now that people are having that is not just based around football as a game itself. It's about a club. It's about an area. It's about having a connection with something that I think is so refreshing, and it's a great foundation and platform to see what we could do across the country to get to know these players and have a durability around identity, as you would have in Gaelic football.
Yeah, so like you spoke today about the PSG Man City game and the quality of the football there, but if you strip away from that, David McWilliams, and I'll talk about this as well, David McWilliams has an article about the FAI Cup Final today, and it's one of this slew of articles across various papers and media about the FAI Cup Final, but he mentions in it the fact that crowds at games now, we will say that the crowd at the Manchester United game, their relevance in terms of the income to the clubs in England is so small. And the revolt against the Super League, I suppose, that we had was fans on the ground, like, having their say back, because they're not as relevant anymore. And effectively, it's the TV audience that is going to dictate kind of where football is going, hence the Super League and all that. That's where it's at, more so than people going to for your football games. And if you go to, say, a Liverpool game now, Liverpool winning 4-0 today, there'll be an awful lot of day trippers. A lot of season tickets are sold at a profit to people who are day trippers. And the League of Ireland is everything that the Premier League really isn't. And I think people are sort of buying into that now, that, the Bohs are kind of, they might be mocked a little bit for, the fact that they have a climate officer, they've all these various roles at the club that people wouldn't associate with football. But I think that's really, really important. And they say that, like, when Bohs score against Rovers, the loudest cheers in Dalymount, the second loudest cheers in Mountjoy, because Bohs have done so much work with prisoners there, and the work that they've done with refugees, welcome on the jerseys and all that. For me, it's absolutely phenomenal. I've been going to Dalymount for a long time, and it's completely changed in recent years. There's a massive buzz in the ground. There's a proper vibe to the place. St. Patrick's Athletic, some beautiful words from Con Houlihan invoked in the article today that Gavin Cummins-Key wrote in the Times about the lost tribes of Israel and the people that have followed Pats through thick and thin. I lived in Inchicore for years. It's right in the heart of the town, right in the heart of Inchicore. It's totally part of that community. It's a special place for Richmond Park. And I think the League of Ireland, in a broader sense now, the buzz around this cup final, I don't remember that much about it. There used to be the old the song mocking Shamrock Rovers when they didn't have a ground. This could be Talca Park, Dalymount, the RDS or Rome, and the song went on. I'm not going to go on what it went on.
The beautiful South Rotterdam, Johnny. You didn't really do it justice there.
This could, but the FAI Cup finals that took place in those, like the likes of Talca in the RDS, for me they're somewhat forgettable. Whereas once the FAI Cup final moved to the Aviva Stadium, it's completely moved up a notch. And I was predicting that we might get 40,000 for this game at the start, and I was kind of doubting myself, because I said I might be optimistic there. I think we might actually beat that now, and this is a phenomenal achievement for two Dublin clubs. It's partly because Bohs have grown so much, and the FA Cup's demise in England for me is very sad, JD. I loved the FA Cup when I was younger, and when the FA Cup started to sort of fall back the pecking order in England, the FAI Cup more or less went with it, and the crowds at games for the first, second and third rounds really, really went down compared to when I was a kid. But since the Cup has gone back to the Aviva Stadium, the Cup has gotten its magic back, and tomorrow is kind of like, there'll be an awful lot of neutrals at the game. We're just there to celebrate that it's Irish football, and you're a League of Ireland fan. But I think one other thing, and anyone does doesn't really follow the League of Ireland, if you watch the game tomorrow, you won't be disappointed. I'm sure that there's really good quality on offer. And if you go to League of Ireland game now, invariably it's good quality. And I'm absolutely buzzing for the game. I'm hoping it might even be a record attendance if we're very lucky.
Johnny's covered around 1 million points there. Because there's sort of a lot in it. I'd like to go back to the basic point. I think the Dublin thing is big though, JD. And I was sort of writing about this, that like Dublin is a city of 1.2 million people, and actually it's been, in my view, like it's been an untapped resource in terms of the League of Ireland over a number of years. And I know Mark says there, you'd think if there was a regional angle in it, the crowd might be bigger, and that's a sort of a line of thinking that exists, that really you need that regional participant in the cup final, because you'll have a one club town or a one club city, and it's a bit like a GAA event where everyone just latches onto it for the final because they have that sense of place. If you're from Sligo, you might not go every week, but you sort of have a Sligo Rovers thing in your mind. Whereas in Dublin, you have 4 clubs, really, 4 sort of main clubs that are situated in particular areas, but people in the surrounding areas might live there for years, they might be renting there, they might be they could live a mile away, but they have no feeling, no attachment, nothing towards that club because they don't have any sense of place with it. And that's the real significant thing about Bows in particular, but Pats also too have got on this, that they've done a lot more work to tap into the areas around the clubs to make themselves a sort of a positive force in their community. The Bows stuff, as Johnny says, they get mocked for aspects of it, but it's also really impressive what they've done. Little stat, I mean, even in that piece I did the other day, that up to 50% of their merchandise sales now is overseas. It's the people, and not like Bows fans living abroad. These are just people who've never been to Ireland or never been to Dalymount, but they identify with Bows in some way. But on top of that, they've done stuff around issues that affect their communities, and Pats have done that as well too. And that's why, in my view, like you see Shamrock Rovers, to be fair, like, you know, some very good crowds in Tallaght towards the end of the season, and Shells are trying to come back. And I just think for a number of years, I think they were sleepwalking in Dublin. There was complacency. I think they just thought that teams winning leagues would get people to come. But you need to offer a lot more. You need to offer a lot more to people in a city who have so much more to do on a Friday night. They have so many options. And that's where I think the clubs have got themselves going. And I do think that's contributed to the buzz around this game, that in the way that sort of GAA enraptures communities, and that the country clubs sort of get that latch on. I think there's people going to the game on Sunday who are probably day trippers in a way. They probably mightn't go to games next season, but they sort of feel like they identify with the clubs involved, and that's why they're going. I think that has to be welcomed.
Can we get that connectivity that you have in Gaelic games, and with everybody who knows that, like Henry Shefflin, Bernard Brogan, everybody knows these players as household names. We can get that in the League of Ireland, and we can get to a better place. The Duffer thing is a huge step, I think, in that with Shelburne.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's massive. And like, Rossi, you're well versed to talk about Sligo Rovers, because like JD, Johnny Kinney's dad played for Sligo Rovers. Johnny Kinney has come through the Sligo Rovers Academy. He's arguably the most exciting young talent who's left in the League of Ireland at this stage. May well end up going to Celtic or somewhere like that. But Rossi, like, Sligo Rovers is, you go to Sligo Rovers is part of the town. It's not Sligo Football or Hurling, it's Sligo Rovers, and it's special.
Yeah, and it's well, we'd say a football town. Now you have to say it's a soccer town, let's say. No, and it was like Johnny Kenny, Gavin Dykes. These were lads that we would have seen as kids. Jerry Carr, and they were unbelievable to see. Like that team in '94 when Willie McStay was the player manager. They were unbelievable. Declan Boyle playing centre back with Dykesy, and now he's the under-19 manager, off the top of my head. You know, being a Donegal man, but it was brilliant. And the old shed end there, it was like you couldn't get into it. It was, I don't know, the fans came out through this little wire tunnel, the players came out through the little wire tunnel, and you know, there was just pelts thrown at the players all the time. You know, it was an unbelievable atmosphere, and it was a brilliant time to go to the showgrounds for matches. And you know, like when you're talking about the cup final, the two grounds like in Richmond Park and Dalymount are two of the best grounds to play in as a player, because Richmond, the fans are on top of you.
Behind a row of houses,
yeah,
people
absolutely.
don't actually understand that.
No, but they're right on top of you.
Yeah.
So when you see, like, you know, when there's a throw-in been taken, like the fans can nearly touch it. You know, or they could touch it if they just stretch out their arms. It's one of the old style grounds, and it's still one of the best to play in.
When did you leave to go to Sunderland? What age were you?
16, just gone 16.
Yeah. which they can't do now anymore with the Brexit. So we have to look inwards.
Absolutely, and why not? Like there's like the average age of the league has gone down hugely, so it's very much a young man's league, and some of these young lads are, you know, so aesthetically perfect. Let's say they're athletes now. Like when I was playing, or when, you know, I was talking to Paul Byrne the other night, like it was a completely different era. We were starting to change, but now they're unbelievable athletes. They're all about their look, their image, and what they look like, and you know, they're primed to go to England, or, you know, well, after 18, let's say, but they are primed to go anywhere. Technically, they're probably better footballers. Mentally, maybe not so much, but, you know, they're unbelievable athletes to go at that age.
I was disappointed, JD, to see it suggested that the FAI or people here had sort of been lobbying such that Brexit thing would change, because for me this is a massive opportunity. Lisa Fallon wrote about it in the Irish Times yesterday about what academies could do for this country, and if Niall Quinn has mentioned this before, the percentage of money bet on horse racing in this country relative to other sports is completely changed compared to what it was, and if there's money bet on football now, which is increasingly more people are betting on football than horse racing with some bookmakers now, which was unthinkable before. There's a lot of government money that comes from football betting alone that could be put into academies in this country, and by academies, that's putting the structures in place, being able to pay coaches and bringing kids through. So the benefits are absolutely huge, and we have to embrace the potential of the Brexit ruling, not look for ways around it, to my mind anyway.
I think to go back to the game tomorrow though, but it does tie in with that point, and people who are sort of you know, maybe are listening but aren't sure, you know, they don't necessarily follow it that closely. Like, I think the great thing about the FAI Cup Finals now is that they really genuinely tend to have a relevance for what happens at that stadium in the next couple of years internationally. Like the FAI Cup Final in 2016, Chidozie Ogbene come off the bench. That was one of his first games for Cork. We all know what Ogbene's doing now. Jamie McGrath would have played in the cup final with Dundalk over the next couple of years, because they were in it every year, so he probably would have played a couple of times in the Aviva. And there's other, like Daryl Horgan in 2016 as well too, 2015, and there'll be others. And I really think with this game here, the best thing about it is that a lot of the exciting angles surround players who are under the age of 21. Like you have Georgie Kelly's a bit older, James Talbot's a bit older, he's been in the Ireland squad this year. Chris Forrester is a great story because he's sort of he's come home and he's rebuilding. But you look at the Bows squad, you've got Dawson Devoy in the 21 squad, Ross Tierney, who's spoken incredibly well this week about some stuff he's gone through. He's 20, he's going to Motherwell after this final. Andy Lyons, and I know, JD, you'd have an investment there through knowing the family. But on the St. Pat side, there's Dara Burns, who was brilliant, he's 19, and a couple of the other younger lads, I'm not sure if they'll all be involved, but Ben McCormick and James Abankwah. Like, these are names that you need to remember, because, they won't all get there, but there's no doubt in my mind that there'll be one or two players involved tomorrow who'll probably play for Ireland in the coming years. And that link between the domestic game and the international team is important, because you could go back to the past, and even growing up watching cup finals where it was a different league, it was an older league, it was more the big day out for the players at a different place in their life. Whereas now I think it's a platform, it's a stepping stone, and I think that's great. That's the only real way you can actually draw people into it, where you realise that this is joined in with everything in Irish football. It's not just some standalone island that's separate to the big stuff, you know.
When you weigh up the two teams tomorrow then, Mark, you know Pat's Stephen O'Donnell, the manager there, very well.
Yeah, I've known Stevie since he was 12. My brother and his brother played together at Galway United, so I've known Stevie since he was 12 years of age. When he was 13, went down to the Kennedy Cup down in Limerick.
United always got the inferior of the brothers, didn't they?
Yeah, my brother will be delighted to hear that. Thanks, Johnny.
What was Stevie like then? Because Stevie was one of the he was the top dog, right? He was you were pretty good as well, to be fair, but Stevie was the talk of the West.
Unbelievable player. Like at 12 years of age, they were talking about what English club he was going to go to. He had his pick of England, literally. Like he was that good. He it wouldn't be, say, the same pool of players down there as they would have in the DDSL and stuff like that, but Stevie at 12 years of age could probably have played under 15. He was that good. Technically, he was unbelievable. His awareness. I know people will talk about his football IQ as a manager, let's say, and not leaving any stone unturned, but as a player, it was like as if he had eyes in the back of his head. His awareness was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I am sort of like, I've done a piece for tomorrow's Sunday Indo about Stevie and Padge Craig, who both went to Arsenal when they were 12, 13, and the story starts with them meeting on the plane.
Yeah.
They were 12, 13. But the big thing that comes across from the chat is that, and I think Stephen O'Donnell would admit himself now, that he probably, he didn't go to the gym at that time. He didn't really have the focus towards football in his life that he should have had, and you would have worked with him at Dundalk then when it was a different Stevie. Like, it was a hungry Stevie that's led to him now becoming this manager figure, which he probably wasn't that type of character when he was younger.
No, he wasn't, because I played with him at Bowes actually in 2008 or stuff, and he was still a fabulous player. But he was a laugher and a joker, and him and Jocks or John Paul Kelly, so the two of them would have been good mates and stuff like that. So he was a messer, and loved the crack and played well, and that was the thing, But he'd even say when he was at Shams, I'll say, when he was at Shamrock Rovers, he it'd be a case he'd finish training, he'd have a chicken fillet roll on the way home, and it was only when he said that he went into a meeting and he had a chat with Michael O'Neill that it was a case of he wasn't in the team, and he went in and said, what was it, And Michael O'Neill, he said, he didn't even open his mouth and say something, but he said he just pinched his back and he felt his body fat. And Stevie goes, he said, I just felt so small and just walked out of the room. So obviously it was his conditioning was a reason why he wasn't in the team. But, Stevie went to a different level at Dundalk because he was captain, and I think he wanted to prove a point. But then when he had his injury at that particular time, he wasn't a young lad at that stage. I think he was about 28, 29, and it was a case of, sink or swim here. And mentally he went to a different level because he was told he might never play again, and he seemed to just grow then into the character you see now. And I have no doubt he'll go beyond Pats and go to a bigger level.
If we're making the case for Pats then tomorrow, what would it be?
Case as in
for them to win the game.
Do you know what it is? I've been mulling it over and putting my thinking hat on with everything involved. I think my heart is telling me I want Bowes to win, but my head is telling me the Pats will have enough to do it on the day.
Why is that?
They rely a lot on Georgie Kelly for goals. Let's say he is what, 20 goals,
26 goals in 39 games this season.
Unbelievable, and he's not fully fit. I look at it's a case of your front trees, let's say. So you have Georgie, if you're looking at paper and they've a full strength team, and it's Ali Coote and Liam Burt on the left hand side. Dara Burns, I say Maddie Smith and Billy King. They get far more goals all around the team than Bowes do. And I think that might be the deciding factor. Like the pace of pressing that the Pats have in their team is unbelievable. Billy King, unsung hero, Maddie Smith getting the goals, and then you've got Robbie Benson, who's back to fitness. I think he's going to be huge for them because he's their brain on the pitch with Forrester lying deep. That's what I'm thinking in me head what they'll play. Forrester's played a couple of games where he's been on the left hand side drifting in, but anytime he goes more centrally, he has far more control on a game. So if he's deep lying there, I think he could dictate everything. When you look at senior players for Bowes, it's Buckley in there, and he's going to have Dawson Devoy in with him. Dawson Devoy, fabulous player, unbelievable player, but how is he going to be when they don't have the ball? So I think when I weigh it up, I think Pats might have enough to do it.
Okay, interesting. We're going to have to take a break. Mark Rossiter here with Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward. 53106 for your text messages if you want to get in touch. You going tomorrow? What's the match day ritual going to be? Bohemians and Shamrock Rovers fans. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0 was a full-time score from the Premier League earlier on. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 1 still. 71 minutes on the watch at Selhurst Park with Matt Targett on the mark. Liverpool 4, Southampton 0. Goals from Diogo Jota got the first 2, then Thiago got the third, and then the fourth one coming there from Virgil van Dijk, the defender. So Liverpool flying at the moment in the Premier League. Norwich 0, Wolves 0 is the latest, and Brighton against Leeds is a 5:30 start. In the Championship, Preston 1, Fulham 1 is a full time. It is Birmingham 0, Blackpool 0, the score. Bournemouth lead Coventry by 2-0. They're down to 10 men, though, the Cherries. It is Huddersfield 0, Middlesbrough 2. Hull lead Millwall by 2-1. It is Luton 1, Cardiff 1. It is Peterborough 0, Barnsley 0. It is Stoke 0, Blackburn 1. It is Swansea 2, Reading 3. An exciting game there in Wales. And in Scotland, Dundee lead Motherwell by 3-0. Hearts 1, St Mirren 0. Ross County 0, Dundee United 1 is the latest. And St Johnstone 1, Hibernian 0. Football Saturday is back after this. You can text us on 53106.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Don't miss Brentford versus Everton on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
Then I looked at Sharon. I don't know if Mum and Dad noticed this, but I could see the marks. There's bruises on her neck.
I'm Frank Graney, host of a new and exclusive News Talk podcast, Inside the Crime. In it, the Whelan family from Kilkenny share their story of losing their daughter Sharon and her 2 little girls, Zara and Nadia, in what turned out not to be an accidental house fire, but murder committed in the early hours of Christmas morning 2008.
I think, where are they gone? They're all dead.
This mini-series will follow the investigation by Gardaí to hunt down the killer and the family's quest for a fairer justice system. That's Inside the Crime, a weekly true crime podcast. Listen and subscribe now on newstalk.com/podcasts or on the Newstalk app, powered by Go Loud.
Enjoy endless entertainment with a TCL Mini LED QLED TV. TCL's Mini LED technology makes it one of the slimmest direct LED TVs, giving great picture quality without compromise on design. Discover the TCL range now on paracity.ie.
Travelling for work? Why not take the train? Trains are the ones that run on tracks. No traffic jams here, friend. On the train, you can take a seat in which to peruse a periodical in comfort, or even take an executive nap. Don't forget to wear a face covering. Plug in your tabletop computing device and connect to the World Wide Web with complimentary onboard Wi-Fi. Or simply gaze out one of the many windows. Yes, the train is just the ticket for today's busy executive. Rediscover the joy of the train with great fares at irishrail.ie. Ian Roderin, part of the Transport for Ireland network.
Where is history made? Right across the spin of a ball. Kenai to Huckritor equivalency fiachra agus a spragter leachra. You need an eye that's wide to follow live coverage from the GAA Club Championship. Feach GAA Bow only on TG Cahir and the TG Cahir player. Eyes wide with excitement. Sport, TG Cahir.
At AIB, we don't make technology for you to bank. We make it for you to live. So you can apply for a credit card through the AIB app or online and get it sent straight to your door. Banking to fit the way you live. AIB, we back doing. Lender criteria, terms and conditions apply. Over 18s only, subject to approval. Allied Irish Banks PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hannah shopped up to 50% off during the Amazon Black Friday week. So now she can be hosting Hannah. And with her new 90-piece cutlery set, it's more the merrier at Hannah's. Family, friends, Uncle Fred and his love of jelly deals. Lovely! Yep, everyone's welcome at Hannah's table. Bring the cheer during the Amazon Black Friday week, 19th to the 29th of November.
Take your career to the next level with a qualification from the Technological University of the Shannon, Ireland's newest university.
Choose from more than 23 free or part-funded flexible courses, ranging from a certificate right through to a master's degree.
Gain industry-relevant skills in areas like packaging and product design, business, leadership, financial management, payroll, tourism and engineering.
Commencing January 2022. See tus.ie/flexible.
Springboard and the Human Capital Initiative are co-funded by the Government of Ireland and the European Union.
Zero. It gets a bad rep. Like when people say they have zero interest in something. Well, if you're thinking of buying an electric car this year, you'll find this interesting, because at Nissan we see the power of zero. Introducing the Nissan Leaf Power of Zero offer. Buy a brand new 100% electric zero-emissions Nissan Leaf and get 1 year's free servicing, a free home charger, the lowest electric finance offer on the market, and great savings on running costs. Now that's the power of zero. Find out more at nissan.ie.
A beautiful bouquet of flowers. It can say more than words ever could. To celebrate, congratulate, or just let someone know you're thinking of them. Flowers.ie know every bouquet is special, so every order they receive is hand-picked, arranged with care, and delivered with love across Ireland. They even send a video before it's delivered so you know it's just right. Say it with flowers at www.flowers.ie. Rated 5 stars on Trustpilot.
My name is Sandra. We live in a hotel, but my little brother cries a lot. I think he wants to go home.
When a child is born into homelessness, the damage caused could last a lifetime. But you can help. Please call Focus Ireland at 1850 204 205 and give whatever you can.
Johnny boy, oh Johnny boy.
Out now at Golden Discs.
As the clock winds.
Flying into Mystery, the superb new studio album from Christy Moore.
When there should be a seafair.
And No Nukes. Bruce Springsteen's legendary 1979 live concert now available for the first time. The new albums from Christy Moore and Bruce Springsteen. Sounds like Christmas at Golden Discs and goldendiscs.ie.
Looking for new ways to reward your staff and customers this Christmas? Then surprise them with a Lidl corporate gift card. Use on everyday essentials, middle aisle specials and treats from our Christmas deluxe range. Plus, if you spend over €3,000, you'll get a big discount on your cards. Contact our corporate gift team at lidl.ie/corporate gift cards.
Now at Power City, save from €50 to €250 on a Bosch kitchen bundle when you buy 2 or more large Bosch kitchen appliances. For more information, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, it's an unmissable Super Sunday with Chelsea versus Man United, live only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball. We're streaming the conversation. Listen on News Talk. Watch us on the digital and social channels for Off the Ball, for Periscope on Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. Liverpool 4, Southampton 0 in the Premier League. Aston Villa leading away to Crystal Palace by a goal to 0. It is Norwich 0, Wolves 0. Earlier on, Arsenal beat Newcastle by 2 goals to 0. Remember our football coverage on Off the Ball, brought to you by Sky, an unmissable Super Sunday with Chelsea versus Manchester United, live only on Sky Sports. Joined as always by Dan McDonnell from the Irish Independent, Johnny Ward, the broadcaster and journalist, and delighted to be joined as well in studio by Mark Rossiter, the former FAI Cup winner with Bohemians and player with St. Pat's and Dundalk. Remember, it is FAI Cup Final day tomorrow. We've been given a full preview between 4 and 5. Just going through the history books last night, lads. Bohemians 7 wins, 1928, 1935, 1970, 1976, 1992, 2001 and 2008. St. Pat's 3 FAI Cup wins, 1959, 1961 and 2014. And the Stephen Kenny stat, which was interesting, won a league with Bohemians and lost 2 FAI Cups to Bohemians, including the game you were involved in, Mark, in 2008, and won an FAI Cup against St. Pat's. So you know Stephen well. How do you think he's been doing over the last year?
I'm sure it's been very tough mentally for him. Anybody who's played under him and felt success under him will go to bat for Stephen. He's a brilliant man. I think all you have to do is look at the last couple of performances for Ireland. Them boys are playing for their manager. They really are. They've been a joy to watch. He's trying to undo so many years of playing a certain style, and some of the young players he has available to him. You know, you just be hoping when they're playing in the UK to get game time so that they're not coming in rusty, let's say, when they're coming into the Irish fold. But I think they've been a joy to watch.
Motivation, is that the key thing for him?
I don't know if it's motivation. I think, he's the manager. We might as well get behind him, is what I'd say to the naysayers. They're the players that are on show. They're young, the average age of the team. You know, Josh Cullen has been unbelievable in the middle. He's been brilliant. He hasn't had Knight available to him because he's been injured, but you see what he can produce when he came on to set up the 2 goals. He set up the 2.
He had a role in 3 goals. Yeah.
I think he's trying to do something. He's an infectious person, very. So it's been a difficult time for him. I think he's weathered the worst of it for now. But there's so many people critical of him regardless, probably because he hasn't managed.
Are they being short-sighted because we do have limited resources? We don't have the quality. We're talking about players earlier on in the Premier League not getting games. Hendrick, Omar Bamidele, Ida, for example, only today.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. Matt Doherty as well, who was brilliant against Portugal, and he's not getting game time at Spurs either. So, yeah, it's difficult from that point of view. But I think when they came together, they've been brilliant in the last couple of games. They really have. You know, they're just missing wins. They were unlucky against Portugal, but look at, you know, that's what Ronaldo can do. So there's progress been made, definitely. But, you know, unfortunately, at his level, it's a results business. You're just hoping, well, I'd be hoping personally that, you know, it does go well for him when he starts to get the results, and especially in, like, say, big qualifiers and stuff like this. The
whole succession plan thing was a bit weird for you, Mark, wasn't it? Because you have great time for Mick McCarthy, because he was very good to you in a difficult time in your life when you were younger at Sunderland. Yeah, Mick is one of the best people I've met in football. Like, I suppose when you're talking about that, like, I'd left Sunderland 2 years previous, and I was diagnosed with a tumour for a third time, and he rang me house in Sligo, and it was about 11 in the morning, and it was one of them. I answered it, and, you know, the voice is like, "Oh, it's Mick McCarthy," you know, and I was
Mark, not bad.
Yeah, and I was like this going, yeah, how are you doing, Mickey? Well, like, and he goes, "I've just heard the news, you've been diagnosed again, and you're coming over, and whatever it was next week, let's say, for the operation." And he just said, "Look, the club is yours. It's open to you. Physios, rehab, whatever you need, the club is there for you."
This is your knee.
Yeah. So it was just a reoccurrence of the tumour twice, but he just more or less had said, like, the club is yours. Anything you want, need. He goes, "I'm here for you. Have my number, so just give me a ring." Because
people may not be aware, like, you played first team for Sunderland when you were a teenager, and then you had just bad knee trouble that you effectively retired, and you came home, and your League of Ireland career was almost a second coming, I suppose, in your football career, right?
Yeah, it was one of them. It's unfortunate, and that's the way it can turn that quick. It was misdiagnosed. If it was diagnosed properly at the time, it would have been a 3-month injury, and it wasn't. And I suppose from a business point of view, you're not insurable. You have to be tumour free for 2 years before you can get insurance. So now you're not an asset to the club, you're a liability. So was what it was, and I suppose I'd done everything within that 18-month span to get it as fit as I was, as strong as I was. So I was ready to go playing football, but just on paper you weren't, you know. So that's what it was.
How did you deal with it mentally? Because I'm sure you go over there with all the dreams in the world.
Yeah, it can be difficult, and, you know, dark times and this, you know, and it was what it was. I suppose, look, you just need time to rationalise it. I'd be quite a methodical thinker about stuff, and, you know, I just said, look, I'll go again and see where it takes me. I had a conversation with the surgeon. I said, you know, what's the prognosis on this? And he said, if there was ever a career-ending injury, let's say, that they talk about, this is as close as you'll get. So I said, when I got back, let's say that I was running fine and playing and stuff like that, I said, well, what can I do? And he said, look, you're going to need a knee replacement. And I said, well, if I play football, what does that mean? And he said, you'll need it quicker. So I just went, Grant. I said, I'll go back playing, and I'll wear the life out of it. So that's what I did, and I came back and I enjoyed every game that I played. I mightn't have played well in the games, but I was thankful for every time I could step on a pitch.
But you were saying before we came on air here, like, it's getting a bit colder now, and you still have a bit of knee issues with that.
Yeah, and it's, you know, like, over the last couple of days, I coach at River Valley Rangers, so I was at the game, we were training on Wednesday night, and I've been limping ever since, and I didn't even kick a football. You know, I was just standing there, and it's like temperature drops, and even before I get out of bed, the temperature drops. I know that I'm going to be limping on a day, and it's part and parcel of it, yeah.
Jim Fitzgerald has been in touch on Twitter. Heading to the Aviva tomorrow with the two small lads as a neutral. €29 for the three of us. Fierce value. Hashtag FAI Cup Final. Hashtag off the ball. Johnny, how are you weighing this one up tomorrow?
I think Rossi's called it quite well there. Bows are very strange, JD, because you can make two completely different narratives in terms of how their season has been, entirely based on how this game goes tomorrow. If they win the Cup tomorrow, you say Bows had a great run of it in Europe. They qualified for Europe again and they won the Cup. Whereas if they lose tomorrow, you say they missed out in Europe, which they really shouldn't have. They beat one half-decent team in Europe, the Luxembourg crowd, and that was that. And they had a poor league campaign. So an awful lot hinges on that. If you look at the league, Pats finished, I think, 10 points ahead of them, and they were pulling up at the end of the season because they had, the season was over for them with 2 games to go. I think midfield will be very important here. I think Dawson Devoy is a brilliant talent, but as Rossi said, he doesn't have that kind of that stuff off the ball. He would be a bit lacking in that regard. And I think Bohs have conceded an awful lot of goals this season, partly because their midfield, there are gaps in their midfield at times that Keith Buckley just can't plug a lot on his own. And I think Pats will probably overload that midfield area with Robbie Benson, Jamie Lennon, Lewis, Chris Forrester. Chris Forrester, by the way, I have to mention the piece David Snade did with him and Keith Buckley in the 42 today. It was an unbelievable read. Yeah. It's just exactly why we love the League of Ireland. Two inner city lads. It's kind of like something out of a Joyce novel, just walking across the city, meeting these characters along the way, stream of consciousness stuff. Unbelievably good article. I'm buzzing for the final reading that alone. But anyway, Forrester versus Buckley tomorrow. They were all teammates at Belleville. Now they're clashing against each other. I think Pats just have the edge, JD. I'd have more faith, as Rossi says, that they've maybe more of a scoring threat. It's going to be difficult for Matty Smith because I think Pats have probably changes to make next season in terms of who they bring in up top. Somebody to hold up the ball. Ironically, somebody like Georgie Kelly, who they let go to go to Bohs. But I just think Bohs' league performances since they beat Shamrock Rovers in the Cup just have been very, very patchy, and I think they're conceding goals pretty much nearly every game, and I have a little bit more faith that Pats will do it. But if you are, on a loose end tomorrow and you're in Dublin, this is going to be a celebration of all that's good, all that's promising about Irish football. Next year, we've Damien Duff back, we've Jack Byrne back, we've some really, really good footballers in this country, and I think tomorrow will hopefully showcase the best of what we have. And as Dan says, there's every chance you'll be watching future Ireland internationals as well.
Send this man a cheque, FAI. Send Johnny Ward a cheque for the sale job he did there.
I just never know. I never know where the question starts somewhere, and you never know where the answer is going to take you, JD. We get through everything. It's like a selection box of Irish football topics.
Well, I'm in the Pax house in Dingle, and I'm going to try and bring somebody from Dingle to the Cup Final tomorrow. That's how hard I'm trying.
All right, okay.
Well, look, the enthusiasm is, and it's absolutely justified. I never really got into Joyce, Johnny. I always struggle with Joyce to get past the first few pages, I have to say. So I have to take your word on it.
I think the point is that is a great piece, but Ross Tierney spoke very well this week. I think I've seen people make this point, JD, that one of the good things about the League of Ireland is how generally open some of the characters are, that can maybe compared to some of the other sports in the country where they're quite media managed, and there's a fear about people telling their stories. But actually, I think the league here is very rich with stories because of the sort of diversity of experiences that people within it have actually had in their lives. Like you chat to someone like Mark there and where he's been, and there's a lot of people in our league who've been through different things because of the very nature of football and probably the cutthroat nature of it and the highs and lows. But as a result, there's some fantastic characters in it with stories to tell. And there's so many of that in the game tomorrow. There's so much of that.
Do you see that, Dan, where Keith Buckley's talking about how his mother, he basically had barred her from going to games. But Keith Buckley brings his mother along to the games in Europe, the three unbelievable games in the Aviva Stadium that Bohs, they won all the games. So she starts going to games, and this is a line from the piece. We won, and she went to all three. First league game she came to was Rovers at Dalymount the other week. I was like, she's going to think that this is a kip compared to the Aviva. She was telling me about a fella behind her about 70 with his grandchild who was about 10. The language out of both of them, you can't be having that, she said to me. That's a League of Ireland game.
This is a marketing thing for me, Dan, though, in a lot of ways.
Big time.
So, this is like the Sunday game, you turn it on in the summer, 500,000 to 1 million people watching it. Everybody knows who everybody is. And a lot of the GA players would give you anodyne quotes, and sometimes it's hard to get blood out of a stone with them. This, to me, is it's a concept thing, it's a marketing thing, and it's people identifying these players.
Yeah, no, and more still needs to be done with that, John. And as I said, this is quite positive, but obviously it's been a sort of a bit of a weird week for the league as well. I mean, you had this Waterford relegation scenario last night. I was at the game, how it all unravelled this week. It means that next season the Premier Division will have no team from Munster. It basically means that the southernmost team in the Premier Division is Shamrock Rovers, which is sort of bizarre, and you have this situation where you have like 5 clubs from Dublin, 2 from Louth and 3 from the Northwest. And I think that's this is a national radio show, and I spoke earlier at length about how you need to tap into Dublin, and that's tremendous. But obviously there's people you're talking about marketing, John, and part of that is like local heroes and local recognition. There's large parts of the country here that don't have a club near them at all, so they're never going to have that. They're never going to identify with the league in that way because it's not someone in their community or that they can see around the place, and they probably listen to us sometimes, get on about it, and they're like, what's this all about? Because they haven't tapped into it. And that's still a massive issue that we're grappling with, and you can't be losing these regional clubs from the top division in sort of farcical circumstances.
Yeah, it was They should have sacked Mark Bircham if they're going to sack him after the game, surely.
It's mental. The week of a playoff game that on paper going into it, you're there going, last 5 games Waterford haven't been great. So, I suppose UCD are in the ascendancy and they're young lads that they're not expected to win. But this is 2 years on the spin. Longford done it last year where they beat Shells, and UCD, all credit to them last night, are after winning again, and you can't help but think that the whole Mark Bircham fiasco has been handled awfully. And I actually feel sorry for Forrest's son. He can't
defend himself. I think this is the thing. There's been some strong claims about by Mark Bircham, and to be fair, Waterford have been asked to reply. They've opted not to reply. I was sitting next to the director's box last night. The owner leaves quite quickly after the game, and I presume in due course they'll get the chance to put their side of the story across. I mean, you have this bizarre situation where Mark Bircham is in with the fans getting photos taken. He's definitely won the PR battle around it, if you know what I mean, and that's a very important point. But Waterford have to come out and explain themselves, because it does appear like they've shot themselves in the foot.
What about UCD though as well? We have to give them credit too, and their manager had a tough week.
Oh, Andy Myler, yeah. I mean, his dad's funeral was on the eve of the game. And there'll always be grumbles about UCD getting promoted because they don't have a massive support base. But what they're doing is a massive service to the league again and again. That you could list off players like Ronan Finn and Andy Boyle and so many others, multiple sort of league winners, Georgie Kelly, other players that will be involved tomorrow, who've all come through that sort of UCD academy effectively, and Robbie Benson, who've got like education with football. And UCD, what they have now is another crop coming through. 3 of them from Sligo, as Mark mentioned off air, 2 from Waterford. The 2 lads who scored last night were in the Waterford academy previously. And they have a very good group. Everyone, all the football people are raving about Liam Carrigan from Sligo at the moment. That's a name we'll be hearing again, joining the Sligo pantheon with the likes of Rossiter and that lot. Very briefly, Dan, Bray and Cabinteely merging, is that a good thing? Probably not if you're Bray Wanderers. People are a bit perturbed by the whole thing. I think the concept of there being too many clubs in a geographical area and these type of mergers needing to happen, there's something in that, and maybe in time Bray people will feel that their identity hasn't been lost, but that's obviously the concern they would have in the short term. I think the concept of it, in Cabinteely, to be fair to them, they weren't really going anywhere in the league, so I could see the sense of it from their side. From Bray's perspective, some people feel a bit hard done by there, but hopefully they can find a sort of a conclusion that doesn't lead to Bray Wanderers people walking away from it. You don't want that to happen. Dan, thanks so much for the chat as always. Thank you, John. Mark, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Johnny, safe trip from Dingle.
Yeah, last word, JD. Ryan Manning scoring an absolute blinder for Swansea today. Would love to see him get a run in the Ireland team at some stage. Here's hoping for the Galwegian.
OK, Johnny Ward, Dan McDonnell and Mark Rossiter, the former FAI Cup winner, Bohemians and Pat's player, ahead of tomorrow's Cup Final. 4 o'clock start at Lansdowne Road. Premier League games have ended. Liverpool 4, Southampton 0, Norwich 0, Wolves 0 full time, Crystal Palace 0, Villa 2 in injury time, Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0 is a full time from earlier on. In the Championship, Preston 1, Fulham 1 is a full time, Birmingham 1, Blackpool 0 is a full time, Bournemouth 2, Coventry 2, it's over there. Huddersfield 1, Middlesbrough 2, it has ended Hull 2, Millwall 1, and latest scores: Luton 1, Cardiff 2, Peterborough 0, Barnsley 0, Stoke 0, Blackburn 1 and Swansea 2, Reading 3. We're back tomorrow 1 to 7. Joe Malloy in the chair with Off the Ball, showcasing 2 live and exclusive Premier League commentaries. Man City against West Ham with Bernard O'Toole and Kenny Cunningham calling that. Then Nathan Murphy and Keith Tracy will describe the action for the showdown between Chelsea and Manchester United. All on your radio here on FM at News Talk from 1. Also the Sunday paper review with Clean O'Connor and Dion Fanning across the digital and social channels from 11:30. And to call as our reporter at the FAI Cup Final between Bohemians and St. Pat's. So be sure to join us tomorrow for that. Great commentaries and conversation. If you missed any of our podcasts today, Football Saturday or the Saturday panel on different sports with Jason Sherlock, Mick Galway and Mickey Quinn, be sure to check out the OTB Sports app. We're back tomorrow. Cheers.